Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spin Cycle Live. I am your illustrious host, Nathan Hale. This is the show that we talk about plate spinning to get you all ready for the craziness, the circus that is the United States right now. We have so many stories to get into today. Let's begin with the first one, kind of going back to what we were talking about on Monday. Let's get this pulled right up. The New York Times can't quit Donald Trump's McDonald's visit, says he made fries wrong. Let's talk about this. So, first off, the New York Times brings in an expert to talk about all the things that Donald Trump screwed up on out at his McDonald's stop the other day. And the first thing that I would like to bring up is, did anyone actually believe that Donald Trump could just go and like manage McDonald's after this? That he had actually, had experience working in McDonald's beforehand, that he wasn't just there for who knows how many minutes the former president was actually in the McDonald's for. That's all I have to say about that. But let's walk through this article a little bit because I was laughing as this was coming out. So the New York Times put out this whole hit piece. He doesn't seem to know how to do it. What's that supposed to mean? He's a president. Do you think that if you put Kamala Harris right back into McDonald's that she would know how to just work there in an instant? I don't think so. So here's the first thing. So here's a quote from the article. Another was concerned after seeing that Trump had jokingly tossed a pinch of salt over his shoulder when he spilled a little. That's a thing that just regular people do for good luck, is you throw some salt over your shoulder. This made me laugh. You don't throw salt like that. Somebody could have been behind him, Like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? We're bringing in former McDonald's employees to criticize the president. Okay, here's another one. This is a great quote from Logan Hall. One of Trump's superpowers is his ability to make his enemies twist and deform themselves in reaction to anything he does. They can't help it. Even performing a task as simple as cooking some French fries sends them into fits of hysteric rage. That is what we like to call Trump derangement syndrome, folks. Getting upset over a president working in McDonald's and throwing some salt over his shoulder. Oh, I love to see the left's heads explode when Donald Trump does literally anything. And it's what I've always gone back to saying is the man could cure cancer tomorrow and they would still call him a martyr. And we have another story on that in just a minute. But first, some news coming out of North Dakota. North Dakota, a state that I often forget even exists. No hate to the people of North Dakota, but they are kind of out there. It gets cold. I want nothing to do with it. But they have some interesting things coming down the barrel. North Dakota could be the first state in the country to end property taxes. This is from a Daily Wire article. So North Dakota has a ballot measure on the books coming out in this election cycle. Ballot Measure 4 would not only repeal the state's property tax, but also bar cities and localities from instituting property taxes of their own. That's great. I am all for lowering taxes. And if North Dakota wants to be the first state to do it, I hope others follow suit. The man who has put forward this ballot measure, Rick Becker, says that once that happens, the light turns on so that many people, as soon as the state steps outside the box, the other states see how possible that is. The sky didn't fall, and maybe we should give it a try. So what he's referring to there is oftentimes when states get to experiment with something, it works out well in their favor and other states follow suit. This is kind of what's been happening with the whole banning of puberty blockers and gender transitions for children in the United States right now. Is kind of one brave state kind of started it, and then the rest kind of slowly follow suit, which is one of the great things about having a model for the United States, and that we don't have just one central government. Every state can kind of try out different things for themselves and see how it goes. And if it goes well, other states implement it. If it doesn't go super well, other states stay away. And that way we can kind of grow and develop as a country. So something interesting is that they did some polling. So recent polling found that 28% of North Dakota voters plan to vote in favor of the measure, while 40% are opposed to the measure, with another third of voters saying that they're undecided. Voters in the state shot down one 2012 attempt to repeal property taxes. However, this year's measure comes amid growing frustration with property taxes. Both Becker and Obad acknowledge. I'm not sure if that's how you actually pronounce his last name. But it's interesting to see that only 28% of North Dakota voters plan to vote in favor for this amendment in the first place. This seems like a great thing and something that I would love to see the state do. I'm all for lowering taxes. My guess is that those who are opposed to it are pushing out that the state is going to lose so much tax revenue that they're just going to fall apart at the seams. They're not going to have any more money to spend on any more government programs in North Dakota if we don't have property taxes. So we need those property taxes. And that's kind of what the article finishes, saying that municipalities across the United States garner $363 billion in property tax from single-family homes. It's a lot of money. And I'm sure that North Dakota does bring in quite a fair bit of revenue from these property taxes. That being said, I have no idea what the budget looks like in North Dakota. It was my understanding that North Dakota is kind of one of those fly under the radar states where they just kind of are chilling out. They're doing fine. I don't hear all that much news about North Dakota. Not that many people live there. All this hate North Dakota. I don't know why I am hating so much on North Dakota right now. This is a great thing that they're wanting to do, and I'm just tearing them apart for it. But like I said, this is great. I would like to see the budget. If there was genuine concern that a lot of critical government programs, such as, funding public schools and other institutions, would really lose out a ton of budget funding because they took away property taxes, I would have maybe a slightly different opinion about it. But we'll just have to see how it goes, and it'll be one of those interesting things to keep your eyes on election night to see how some of these ballot measures go. So, hopping back, talking about homes some more, The Hill published this article that I saw today. U.S. home sales slowed again in September, falling to weakest annual pace in nearly 14 years. So, according to The Hill, selling houses is not doing so hot right now. It's not doing so good. And I'm sure that's for a lot of reasons. So they say here that sales fell 3.5% compared with September of last year. Overall, the latest home sales were short of the 3.9 million pace economists were expecting, according to FactSet. Now, what I would like to say is there's a reason why this is happening. And one of those reasons I have to bring up has to be interest rates. Right now, we're experiencing record high interest rates in the housing market. My next tab right here shows that off beautifully. In that we are experiencing a national average of, what was that? 6.57% interest rates right now. I had a chart that I had pulled up here as well. Not sure where that went. But you can see going back to even May of 2024, those were at 7.35. Now they've dipped down a little bit. But if we pull this up to see the past 10 years, overall interest rates were doing pretty good. When Trump initially came in back in early 2017, they started at around 4%. And his average was kind of right around 4%. We had a high of 4.62. And then that kind of dipped down during COVID, which is fair. There was COVID. People were not doing a whole lot. The economy was being very stagnant. But then Joe Biden comes in. January 2021. National average is 2.89%. And you can see that just slowly shoots up until where we are today. Like I said, in October 2024, 6.45%, a high of the Biden and Harris administration of 7.89% for a 30-year fixed loan. That's outrageous. That's the highest it's been in over a decade. I mean, look at all the way back to 2014 when Obama was in office. Even Obama kept interest rates at 4%. And that's saying something. Like I said, there was an increase under Trump. There's lots of things to attribute to that. But for the most part, his average over his 4-year term was about 4%, which was about the same of what Obama had. And this huge increase is absolutely staggering to me. As a young person who doesn't own a home yet, it's scary to me to look at, as when I see interest rates this high, when I see housing prices going up exponentially, when I see that things have gotten so expensive that the annual sales of houses are at a 14-year low. That's scary to me. I want to own a home someday. I don't want to be a renter for the rest of my life. And seeing stuff like this happening is very disheartening to me, to see in my country where home ownership is part of the American dream. That is one of the things that America was founded on, was owning your own piece of land, owning your own house. And that is one of the ways the American dream is slipping away from us as Americans right now. And I truly hope that that's why I advocate so much for Donald Trump, because interest rates were pretty good under him. We didn't see this under Trump. People were buying and selling houses. It was great. And I want to see a return to that, because I want to be able to own a home. Sometime in the next 4 years, I hope to be moving out of the current place that I'm living in and possibly buying a home. I'll be graduating college halfway through Trump's next term. So that very well could be a possibility for me. Let's move on. Harris claims Trump win would be catastrophic for Social Security, but first term tells different tale. So Fox News published this article. Kind of going through this, we have a quote here. It says, if elected, the policy think tank also found that Social Security cash shortfall could increase by $2.3 billion through 2035. This change would push the program's insolvency date up from 2034 to 2031, meaning the next president will need to deal with this issue sooner than expected. If these changes happen, people could face a 33% cut in their benefits by 2035, compared to 23% cut earlier than reported. Now that, I believe, was from that is referring to the Trump policy ending Social Security a bit sooner. Either way, neither candidate wants to touch Social Security at all. It's kind of a losing issue on either side. But I'm going to say something that people are not going to like. I am not an advocate of Social Security. It's going to end well before I get to take advantage of it. I mean, 2031, that'll be at least 30 years before I can even take advantage of it. I'm 20 years old right now. Point being, people of my generation and myself have paid thousands of dollars into a Social Security system that we're not going to see anything out of as it currently stands. Now, many people out there like to say, oh, well, they'll come up with a new system to figure it out. I don't know about that. I don't want to see a system like this. We spend so much money, so much tax revenue on Social Security. That money could either A, be in the hands of the taxpayers, or B, be spent on so many other things that are happening in this country other than that. Social Security made sense back in a time when it was introduced, when people literally were making nothing for their career. They were living paycheck to paycheck, quite literally struggling to put food on the table. starving to death. That's not happening nearly as much as it is anymore in the United States. We're living in the 21st century. There should be more of a push to get people investing their money. I would rather, at the very least, I should be able to opt out of the Social Security system. I don't want to pay into it. I don't want any of that money coming back to me when I retire. I would much rather pour that money that I was being taxed for Social Security and put it into an investment portfolio, put it into an IRA, put into literally anything else that will actually garner me some interest on it. And then I'm in control of where my money is going versus the government giving me a stipend every month. So overall, I'm not a fan of it. I think it should go away. And I'm saying the quiet part out loud that Republicans don't want to touch Social Security, like I said, because it's a losing issue. I wouldn't want them to mess with Social Security right now. For the record, I want to win elections. When we have people in office that can actually do something about it, I'll be a little bit more vocal. But I see stuff like this, I'm like, I really don't care when Social Security ends. I'm not going to take advantage of it anyways. The way that I see it is, myself and people my generation have spent thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars putting money into the system they're not going to see anything out of. And until I hear of a program or until I hear of a way that that money is either coming back to me or that system is ending so that future generations are not taxed out of their ears to pay into a system like this, then I won't be happy. Let's move on. NBC News. See, I covered news from all spectrums. I look on all the websites. I'm very balanced, unlike this next article we're about to see. This article, former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, boring, says Trump praised Hitler while in office. Now, I saw that article. I was like, all right. You got me. I'll read the article. Let's see what they have to say. Kelly, who is Trump's chief of staff from 2017, 2019, said that the former president falls into the general definition of fascist. And we're going to look up that general definition in just a moment. But let's go through this article first. So, kind of scrolling down, they bring up Trump's remarks at a New Hampshire rally that happened not too long ago. But what are some things that he said? So Kelly says that he commented more than once, that Hitler did some good things too. He also told New York Times that Trump meets, quote, the general definition of a fascist, whatever the heck that's supposed to mean. Certainly, the former president is in the far-right area. He's currently an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure, Kelly said. That's John Kelly right there. He's not winning any beauty awards, that's for sure. But let's see. Let's break this down a little bit. So this is all hearsay. We have no proof that the former president said any of these things. To be honest, I'm sure he said worse things. I would not be completely surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised either if these quotes were taken out of complete context as to where they're at, considering that NBC News links the video that was totally taken out of context, which we'll show in just a minute. I see John Kelly as someone who is very disheartened by Trump. I see him as someone who is pissed off that he is no longer in the administration, doesn't like Trump. He's trying to discredit him any way he can. And for the record, folks, we see these same quotes coming out for literally every single presidential candidate in this century. They called Obama Hitler. They called Trump Hitler. They called Bush Hitler. They called Clinton Hitler. They called everyone Hitler. They said all these people were saying fond things about Hitler. All of them are fascists. For the record, Donald Trump is actually a fairly center-right candidate compared to a lot of other Republicans out there right now. I mean, his stance on abortion rights alone should say it all for you. The fact that he's not a tried and true pro-life individual. He wants to just see a ban at between 16 and 20 weeks. That should say it all for you. There are so many Republicans out there, especially ones in Congress, who are truly pro-life and want to see a ban on abortion just in general overall, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not speaking down either one of them. Like I said, I take a more Trumpian approach, but he's definitely not a far-right candidate. You can look no further than some members of Congress for that. I would pluck Marjorie Taylor Greene out of there for sure and throw her in that camp before I would say that Trump's far-right. But so this video that they link, as I was talking about earlier, Trump says that, let's see, where's the quote? Where's the quote at? He said essentially that, oh, it's not highlighted anymore. My highlighted went away. Gosh darn it. I was searching for this. Needless to say, he said something about, we'll just look in the next video. He said that Donald Trump on illegal immigrants poisoning the blood of our country. So they play this video that's embedded in the article. You can go and read it for yourselves if you like. They cut the video off far too soon. It's very, very dishonest. So Donald Trump did say poisoning the blood of our country, but we're going to watch it together, and hopefully the audio works this time. If you can't hear it, let me know, and we'll see if we can fix it. But let's pull this video up, and we will show it off to you right now.
We got a lot of work to do. You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall, and then we're going to build more. And the election was rigged, and we didn't do it, but I figured they'd just throw it up. Would have taken 3 weeks. It was all built. It was all ready to be just hoisted up.
So the NBC News article pulls up that very quote that he says, poisoning the blood of our country. They say it as a negative. And to be clear, I am not supporting necessarily that exact statement, but they cut it short. Donald Trump here was not saying that illegal immigrants, their race is poisoning the blood of our country. It's very dishonest what they said. What Donald Trump actually stated here was that illegal immigrants pouring into our country is poisoning our society. It is infiltrating our, like he said, mental institutions. There are lots and lots of criminals coming in. There's lots of people that want to seek harm on the United States. That is what was being stated there. It was not about race. It had nothing to do with the race or ethnicity of the people coming in. It had to do entirely with the types of people that are coming in, many of which are criminals, many of which want to seek harm in the country. But needless to say, NBC links that little clip right here, and they cut it off right after he says, poisoning the blood of our country, as support to John Kelly's claims that Donald Trump is in fact racist, that he's a Nazi, he wants the ethnic cleansing, and he's a fascist. I pulled up the definition of fascism here from Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and it states very clearly, so fascism is a populist political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, that is associated with a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, and that is characterized by severe economic and social regimentation and forcible suppression of opposition. So Donald Trump does not meet basically any of these requirements here, according to the actual definition of fascism by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. First off, Donald Trump does not hold race above any individual. He's never done that. Pulling up any there are many people like to say Donald Trump's racist. I don't believe that Donald Trump is racist. I've not seen anything that Donald Trump has done to say to me that Donald Trump is racist in any way. Dictatorial leader. The man had 4 years in office. He left when Joe Biden was meant to come in. Yes, there was a kerfuffle with January the 6th, which I do not agree with, that Trump certainly tried to shut down what was happening. I mean, we have the receipts to prove it. But he left. He didn't try and stay in office longer than he was supposed to. He fought it through the courts like he should have. What else is in here? A forcible suppression of opposition. Who does that sound like? Does that sound like the right to? Does that sound like Donald Trump forcibly suppressing opposition? I mean, this is the man who has gone on a number of different networks. I mean, he's debated with Kamala Harris. He's debated with Joe Biden. His vice president, J.D. Vance, future vice president, hope to God. I mean, debated Tim Walz. I mean, that does not sound like forcible suppression of opposition to me one bit. This is bad journalism on NBC's part. And this is why the right calls things fake news. This is exactly it. So let's move on to our next story. We have some other things going on. We have this lovely video from Libs of TikTok. We love that Twitter account, Libs of TikTok. So the city of Fort Collins, Colorado, just installed a new Pride crosswalk with taxpayer dollars. Oh my gosh. So where do I even begin? Let's take a trip down memory lane for a minute. Do you all remember when that one I forget the name of it. They installed a very similar crosswalk to this where they painted it all rainbow colors to support pride in the community. And then some dude with his truck went and put some skid marks on top of his rear tires and everything because he was pissed off at it. First off, that very same thing is going to happen to this crosswalk right here. Mark my words. We'll be sure to update you on that story when it happens. Someone's going to come along with their car and do something to this. But needless to say, that guy was like, everyone was like calling him out. He's like, oh my gosh, it's a hate crime. Oh my gosh. So this crosswalk in Fort Collins, you can see there's some lovely they-thems walking across it. I'm not assuming anyone's pronouns here. So everyone in this video, I'm just going to call it a they-them because who knows, exactly what they are. Was opened up on October the 11th for National Coming Out Day. Oh, how sweet. Joined by over 100 people. Isn't that so sweet to see? So I don't know what the purpose of a pride crosswalk is. I don't really understand how that is more effective than just a pride flag in general. I'm really not sure. I have no idea even where this idea came from. You can see that they're actually putting down material that adheres itself to the concrete, which could be a reason why it might be less prone to getting skid marks from some guy with his truck coming along. But I don't know. All this screams to me is nothing but virtue signaling, trying to get attention, trying to show how woke they are, putting out a pride crosswalk in their street. And I don't like it. There's no reason to be doing this. And my favorite is when proponents of things like this, of these operations, say, oh, it's to make people feel more inclusive. It's to make them feel, more part of the culture, more part of the society. When in reality, it does the exact opposite, frankly. It keeps the words of people who are different than us in people's minds, and it makes them more prejudice against gay people, more prejudice against trans people, for example, because they see stuff like this and they're pissed off about it and they don't like it. If you stop talking about things, then it goes away. It reminds me of a famous Morgan Freeman quote, and I'll leave you with this, where Morgan Freeman said that racism will never go away until we stop talking about it. And he was exactly right. If you truly want to see people stop being homophobic or transphobic, you gotta stop doing stuff like this. It's going to keep it in people's minds. It's going to keep people thinking about it. It's going to keep making people upset that this is being shoved in their face, shoved down their throat when they don't want it. So just stop. Just don't do it. Fort Wayne's, Colorado, or Fort Collins, Colorado. Leave people alone. Spend your taxpayer dollars on literally almost anything else. But with that, folks, that is all for today. We had other stories to cover, but you will just have to wait until next time to hear about those. And they certainly are doozies. Please tune in with us next time. This has been a great show. Hopefully the audio in the last video went off without a hitch. We'll see afterwards. But with that, I have been your illustrious host, Nathan Hale. You can follow me, follow the Spin Cycle on Twitter, now known as X, at the Spin Cycle Live, at my handle at Homonatian. If you want to have questions on the show, if you have questions or comments for me, please send me a message on Twitter. My DMs are open as always. If you want anything read on the show, please let me know on that. But without further ado, please enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Hopefully it has been a good day. Thank you for spending the past 30 so minutes with me. And I will see you again right here on Monday with Spin Cycle Live. Thank you so much for spending your day with me, and we'll see you again next time.